Wow, what an evening. It really has been so inspiring tonight to hear the story of so many leaders from across our community. And tonight it's my privilege to introduce another well-known and deserving honoree into the Hall of Fame. Charlie Weaver, as you heard, spent most of his career in public service, and he's got a unique gift of being able to use humor to draw people together in politics and in public policy. Not an easy task. He believes in taking work seriously, but never taking himself too seriously. That is the hallmark of Charlie Weaver. Many of us in this room have witnessed the Weaver tradition of making fun of himself at the annual dinners of the Minnesota Business Partnership. In the Twin Cities Business Story, it's noted that each year, Weaver would coax CEOs and politicians to appear in a funny video with him. His favorites were spoofs on The Wizard of Oz and carpool karaoke, and I think I've got a slide that maybe gives you a little snapshot of some of that. And if not, picture in your mind, many of you have been there and seen it. And maybe it's better, maybe Charlie'd prefer that it remains secret in the halls of the River Center amongst 600 or more friends. At any rate, if you were at any of these dinners, you will know how much fun they were. But there was always a much bigger point, and that is that Charlie would use these moments as a chance for politicians and business leaders to get to know each other. And as he said in the article, it's a whole lot harder to fight with somebody or take shots at them if you've had dinner together. You see, for Charlie Weaver, it's really all about relationships. It's been a hallmark throughout his different roles across a distinguished career. And I don't think it will surprise anyone that Charlie spent the last 20 years of his career at an organization with partnership in its name. I've been privileged to work with Charlie for just about my whole career. In fact, I first met Charlie when I was going to the University of Minnesota Law School, and I interviewed for a clerkship at Lindquist and Venham. I didn't get the clerkship, but I met Charlie Weaver. And then over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to work with Charlie in his various roles and in mine as well. In fact, for me, the past 2 years of my work with Charlie have been, without question, the most notable. As the most recent chair of the Minnesota Business Partnership and as a health system leader, I'm especially grateful for how Charlie brought together business leaders and public officials right in the midst of the pandemic to help architect a response to the pandemic in Minnesota. I saw firsthand Charlie's commitment to making sure that the skills and expertise of the business community were offered up to the public sector as we were all scrambling to figure out responses. I saw Charlie's impact in thousands of ways. He's always been a passionate advocate for a healthy and prosperous business community. He understands it is what creates jobs. He's been talented not only in building a team at the partnership, but building coalitions to bring people together. His passion is notable. He's also been incredibly pragmatic, as you heard in the video. He understands that good and lasting progress takes bridge building, compromise, and relationships. And I think today, when so much appears to be about the things that divide us, Charlie's career is an inspiring example of leadership through partnership. So tonight, I'm happy to introduce and congratulate my friend and colleague, Charlie Weaver.
Thank you so much. Okay. Don't go too far with that thing. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for those really kind remarks. Like every speaker here tonight If I've had any success in my career at all, it's because I've been blessed with a wonderful family. My daughter is here, so happy for her. She's an Ole grad. I'm sorry to the St. Thomas president who's here, but she's a St. Olaf grad. My team sitting in the back, who is the best in the business and make me look good every day, which is extraordinarily difficult. And amazing friends like Andrea Walsh. However, after hearing the first 4 award recipients tonight, I'm asking myself the same question I'm sure many of you are asking yourselves, and that is, what am I doing here? I mean, seriously, did you hear those speeches? That is, I am so humbled to be on the same stage with people like this. After all, I'm a former politician, lawyer, lobbyist. I mean, we usually get entered into the Hall of Shame, not the Hall of Fame. And by the way, where's Frank? Frank, I had to mention your name, of course. Did you put me after Laisha? Because that is brutal. To follow you, I could have been behind Archie. That would have been way easier. Following Laisha is like following Beyonce. And my father always said, he said, it's better to be quiet and have people think you're smart than to speak and prove them wrong, right? So, good night, everybody. We're over time anyway, aren't we? So, even though I should sit down, let me just make one point. And Carrie kind of mentioned it. And having one foot in politics and one foot in business, we need to keep doing what we're doing tonight and celebrating business in this community. If there's one point I'd make, that would be it. We need to continue to do things like we're doing tonight. Our business community is the key reason that we've got this great quality of life here in Minnesota. As has been already mentioned, business creates jobs, support our cultural institutions. I mean, look at Marilyn Carlson Nelson, right? A titan. She and Stan Hubbard, we are blessed to be in the same room with these 2 titans of business who've done so much. Their lives represent the best of us. But it's something we need to protect. Oftentimes, I think we tend to take our businesses for granted here. Because what we have doesn't happen everywhere. It's really true. If you talk to CEOs who've come here from other parts of the country and moved to Minnesota, almost all of them would say, what we have here is unique, and we need to treasure it and hold it up. We are with great corporate citizenship, the philanthropic generosity our businesses do is unique to Minnesota. But the benefits we all enjoy that result from this really amazing business community really is fragile. And as another speaker mentioned, I think it was Carrie, in recent years, businesses, especially large companies and CEOs, have really been under fire. They've taken a lot of shots, and that's not really a partisan comment. It's come from both sides of the aisle, and we especially hear it during elections. Now, I'm not trying to say that all business leaders are perfect. They aren't. But I tell you what, the vast majority of men and women who lead our companies in this state are exactly like the people you've heard from tonight. Remarkable human beings who contribute to the communities and happen to be great business leaders as well. That is what the blessing we've got here in Minnesota, and we need to celebrate it. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, why should I care? Why should I care if some people take shots, demonize businesses and CEOs from time to time? Well, we should care because those companies, those leaders, they can make choices. They can go wherever they want. And when they leave, they take their wages, they take their philanthropy, they take their leadership, and they take their talent with them. And that is devastating to our quality of life here. I think about the recent contributions of the Minnesota business leaders. I know Laisha mentioned a few, but let me mention just a few more that I think highlight what I'm talking about and how valuable we have. When Catholic Charities needed to expand the Dorothy Day Center in St. Paul to address increasing homelessness, it was Doug Baker. Doug, where are you? Right there. Doug Baker, absolutely. From Ecolab, and Mary Brainerd from Health Partners, and Andy Ciceri from U.S. Bank that raised $40 million in private money to address homelessness in St. Paul. When Minnesota fell to the bottom of the pack nationwide, the bottom of the pack recently nationwide in kids being able to read at third grade level, it was Archie Black who stepped up, passed a law, and now our kids are going to learn to read. Kind of basic to a full life. When Lake Street merchants were devastated by the riots, had to rebuild, it was David Mortensen of Morton Construction who stepped in, materials, labor, and funding to get them back on their feet. And when COVID hit, this is something that doesn't happen in other states. 10 hospital associations all over the state got together, combined their efforts to make sure that everyone who's threatened by COVID had a bed. And that was led by Andrea Walsh. And the CEOs of Donaldson and Medtronic and 3M got together and coordinated with the governor, again, something that's unique to Minnesota, that public-private partnership. And they got the equipment that doctors and nurses needed to save lives. That's the kind of spirit, that's the kind of cooperation, that's the unique thing that Minnesota businesses do here, and something we need to protect and treasure. And they aren't extraordinary, the things I've mentioned. They happen every single day in this state. So, my message is let's be un-Minnesotan, right? Let's brag a little bit. We don't like to brag, but we gotta brag about the people you've been inducted tonight, the people you've heard from tonight. We gotta tell our success stories like we're doing, and we can't sit on the sidelines when people come after those businesses. We can't sit on the sidelines when there are policies proposed that hurt our ability to compete and grow and provide Minnesota with a great quality of life. So let's stand up, tell those stories, and celebrate the great things we do in the state. Thank you, all of you.